good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to all of our attendees tuning in from around the world. Today's broadcast of Invisible Women in Sport is an Institute for Sport and Social Justice production. I am your producer, Garnett L. Overby III. All guests will be muted during this production, but I encourage you to use the chat feature to ask a question or leave a comment. We will reserve time at the end to answer your questions. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome our host, Candace Martin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 3, episode 8 of Invisible Women in Sport. And I'm your host, Candace Martin. Today, you are all in for a treat as always, our guest is Monique Smith, an owner, leadership strategist, and AthleticPreneur of Seeds of Empowerment, LLC. Thank you, Monique, so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So the other day in the pre-screening, I gave you a little homework. I asked you to prepare for one of 2 games. You're either going to do 2 truths and a lie or rapid fire. Did you do your homework? You're an adjunct professor now. Did you do your homework? I appreciate it. It's fine. You'll do fine. All right. So we're going to do rapid fire. So I think that helps a little bit. More of the homework was kind of on me. All right, so I'm gonna get my timer started. My timer got 30 seconds to get through the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Get her started. All right, ready to go?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Favorite song?
Always and Forever by Heatwave.
Restaurant or home cooked meal?
Restaurant.
Night in or night out?
Oh, night out.
Okay. Favorite vacation destination?
Well, I can't say I went there for vacation, but I wouldn't mind going back. It's Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Favorite book?
You see all these books, child. How am I supposed? Okay, I can tell you. Dennis Kimbro's Daily Motivation. That book that's it. I mean, and I've been actually having conversation with him on LinkedIn and just telling him how great that book is. And it's time. It was written in like 93, but it is one that can set you in the right frame of mind every day because it's a daily motivation.
Absolutely. We did great, Monique. That was really cool.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to jump right into the conversation. So pretty much we talked about a couple of days ago in our pre-screening how you got your start in sports. So started out as a scorekeeper, so now what did your journey look like when you actually got into that first SID role? What did it look like for Monique then?
Didn't know what to do day to day, to be honest with you. I was blessed to work for the very first female athletic director for the CIAA, Jeanette Lee. And to be honest, I might have learned how to do that from college education, but the role of an athletic administrator, I learned it from watching her interact with alumni, students, not just student athletes, just how the relationship and how she was able to make things happen. Mm-hmm. For me, that just sealed it for me that you were there to help guide the student athlete from A to B. And that's really what a coach is. Coach comes from stagecoach, from the Westerns, and it's taking a person from A to B. And so, but A to B is freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And so it's to prepare them. So, I tell you, my office was really very small. And at one time I had a leak in my roof. And I even had my desk in the bathroom just to make sure my computer stayed. But my office was always packed with students, just talking about whatever they had going on or whatever they wanted to prepare. So for me as an SID, it was, SID was game day. I already knew how to do a media guide. I know how to balance a box score. This is before computers, just to be clear, okay? I do everything manually. But I was blessed because I didn't have football. So I was one of the first women to begin to do volleyball stats on the computer. And so I began to do that. And all my students know how. I even have one student who has a company with that. It's called Stats Done Right. So I must have done something right.
Absolutely, absolutely. So from there, throughout your time, you ended up an athletic director. I don't know about everyone else, but that's almost unheard of to progress from SID to then athletic director. So how were you able to obtain the athletic director position?
To be honest, by default. I had been through 5 different athletic directors, and honestly, I came to work. Most of everybody was part-time, but I mean, people gravitate to people who get things done, not the titles. I can say that's what happened in the 90s. So I was the one. If you wanted to get something done, I was gonna get it done. And the president contacted me while I was working at the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta and said, did you know that AD blank was leaving? And I was like, no, I didn't know. And he says, well, I want you to be my interim. And I was like, I don't know about that. And I had just left NYSP because I helped bring NYSP. And to be honest with you, I was looking to leave. I didn't want to tell him that exactly. But he was like, he could tell that I had some apprehension. He was like, I'll make it worth your while. I said, well, still let me think about it. Well, that night the bomb went off at Atlanta Olympics. And I said, okay, I hear you, God. Life is too short. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then when I got to campus, all the coaches were like, no, we want you to do it. We trust you. We believe in you. And, I remained interim until the day that I announced I was leaving. And he was not happy with me. The president was not. But honestly, I left for personal reasons. I was in the midst of getting a divorce. And I just said, life is too short, and peace of mind is something I can't put a price to. And, and I can say that that's one of the things that you really cannot let society be your decision maker. You really got to know who is really guiding your ship. And so for me, it was, okay, I cannot not allow, why would you give that up? And you just made here and all of that, the headlines. I said, I gotta look out for myself. But I was blessed because I did not know what was going to be ahead for me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. So what was ahead? So 13 years with the CIAA. Once again, an anomaly, almost unheard of. So talk to us about that. How were you able to remain an asset for the CIAA and be able to maintain a role as the conference was continuing to grow and grow for 13 years?
This is going to sound crazy, but I mean, I can't even say yes. I didn't have opportunity to say yes or no. I just I'm a person, if he wanted to get it done, I'm going to get it done. And so I had some strange tasks, but I was excited about the task to do. So it was almost, I went there as director of PR. And I'll be honest, I told the commissioner that I could not come back to the same thing I did as an intern, because I interned with the CIAA when I was in college as a PR intern, and selecting player of the week and coach of the week and putting up stats. And she was like, okay, you come in, train somebody to do what you don't want to do, you can do what you want to do, which was initially director of championships, then it was director of governance, then essentially it was chief of staff. And one of the parts I enjoyed about my job so much was professional development, helping the women that I came in contact with, especially the SWAs, to secure the position as athletic director. And so there's so many women. We just celebrated Dr. Ingrid Wicker-McCree's retirement. She's one of my mentees. And I do want to go back about the SID for a second. I was blessed to have 2 work-study students to come under me as SIDs. And one of them is being honored this month by COSADA as the very first Black woman on the board of COSADA. That would be April Emery. And the other young lady is Aurelia Washington, who is now a longtime SID. So for me, it's always been bringing up other Black women in this profession.
Absolutely. You're just helping me foster the conversation. I love that. Full circle moment for those of you who don't know. I once sat in Monique's seat and she was in my seat where I was featured as a guest on her podcast. So it's really a full circle moment. You just never really know when you will be in the presence of someone that you have met. It's been like 3-4 years maybe. So definitely enjoying this moment and enjoying how we're able to feed off of each other. So you pretty much kind of took us there. So let's talk about the purpose and the reason behind you launching A Chat in the Garden.
Well, I didn't know I was doing that, to be honest. So in 2013, I took my my business full time because I already been consulting since 2005. Many Division III conferences would ask me to lead their retreats for their conferences. At most Division III, SWA was just name only. And so I was like, oh no, we can, whatever your expertise is, you can make that position your own. And it is a role. And so it's all about mindset. It's all about mindset. So really what I've been doing all along has been planting seeds of empowerment to lead others to greatness. And that seed and that empowerment really is a mindset shift. Okay. So I was doing that all along. And so in 2013, I became a leadership consultant for the NCAA and doing leadership workshops. And many folks were asked, well, could you design my whole day? And I was like, sure, because I was already doing that all along. I would create workshops with things that I would see. I created one workshop called Walk in Her Shoes, because I had a lot of women who I would put in position, but would not be happy about it or complain about it. And I'm like, if you got that position unconventionally, that already tells you that the president is already unconventionally. So let me change your mindset of how to use that unconventional mind. So if I'm not in that role in the conference office, the podcast fell into my lap from a publicist who wanted me to assist one of her other clients in having the longest podcast. And she said, do you want to be a host or do you want to be a guest? So I majored in mass media. I studied radio. So I knew. I said, well, I got control issues. I will be the host. And I said, so they were like, oh, you know what you really are doing. I'm like, yeah, I told you that. And I said, I want to have, so the first time I did it, there was a 3-hour show.
Oh, wow.
But the guy didn't know what he was doing. He didn't record it. I was like, okay, sister girl, this isn't for me. So then she came back to me. She says, I got a real professional guy. I promise you. I was like, all right. But one thing that bothered me, because she kept saying, was radio. I said, this isn't radio. And when I embraced the word podcast, I was like, okay, that's true. This is a podcast. I don't feel disingenuous. I can do this. And that's when I embraced it. The guy's name was Clark Garrison. It was Survival Radio Network. Unfortunately, he has now passed. And so I had to archive my season 1 through 6 into a course because it was on his platform. But interesting enough, I said, I want to, the first season, have only women athletic directors, Black women athletic directors. And he was like, oh, that won't be long. I said, you don't know what you're talking about. And I did from August to like February. And, he loved the show so much that he would not give it to anybody else to engineer. And again, we talk about being disruptive. My issue was I served on a lot of NCAA committees. And I remember us having money for conference offices for diversity. And I was sitting in on a conversation where I heard a commissioner say in New England that she couldn't use the diversity money because she didn't know any diverse people to put in the position to do what to do with it. I said, excuse me, you didn't try because you didn't ask me. And so I said, you know what? Never again will you be able to say you don't know how to find someone. Because if I've been having a podcast for 8 seasons, then you want to stay on the rock. You want to be there. You're not trying to do better. And so for 8 seasons, I've been having a Black woman in athletic administration, have expanded a little bit more to sports business. And the whole point is about advancement. It's about, number one, to show people where they can be, and also to tell people where they can find the top women. That's why I call significance in athletics and sports, where it blooms, because that is where we are. And if you're really looking for someone who can take your program to the next, all you have to do is listen to a Chat the Garden every week and go to the archives. And here's the point though, many of the young people who ask me, because I do executive coaching, yep. but the young folks, want to know, what's your advice for this, or do you know someone? So I said, go in the book. Go in the book, meaning Facebook, in the Facebook group, type in the position or the name of the person, and listen to the podcast. Then you have a bridge to reach out to that person. I listen to your podcast. I have a follow-up question. That becomes your introduction to the person. I don't know you, so I can't really speak on your behalf, but you can say you listen to the podcast of mine. And so I see Donna Ellaby is here. I've known her for a long, long, long time. And so, somebody may say, I'm going to California. Do you know anybody? I said, type in California, see the different institutions, listen to the podcast, reach out to them. That's my way of helping the next generation.
Absolutely. So being strategic and also utilizing resources that are out there and establishing that connection from there. And I will say, I did listen to a podcast once before. Cara Adams, DeVos alum, she currently works for the Portland Trailblazers. And this podcast, she was featured on it. And so I was like, I'm really interested. I would like to connect with her. So pretty much like you just suggested, send her a message. Hey, listen to your podcast. I love to connect further. And the rest is, the rest is still being written. So absolutely, I will definitely stamp that advice for everyone listening and wondering. All right, so get Chat in the Garden off the ground. So then all these other projects begin to bloom and blossom.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of those projects, such as Significant Athletics and Sport Magazine that you have launched.
Girl, I did not know that was going to be a thing. Oh, what happened? Did we change? We moved?
We're pulling up a visual for our...
Oh, okay. So the interesting thing was,
there she is.
All right. Okay, well, thank you so much. It is on Amazon, everyone, you can go get. Well, the thing was, when I was doing these executive coaching, and I would try to say, many people would come to me when they got that pink slip. And by that time, it's too late. I need to get your name out there now. And the interesting thing is the SID in me promotes my clients like I would a player for all conference. You see? And they can attest. I can get a person all conference even if a team is losing, because I can promote you. Absolutely. And so, the thing is, if you embrace your intellectual property, there's a thing called expert marketing. Like when the people pay to be in a magazine, but what you're paying for is not just to put your article in there, but you get me to help you with your content to make a framework. So even if you leave your institution, this is the truth. You are always with you. So wherever you go, you can be able to create again and create again and create again. And then one thing about, as you just heard me say, wherever I go, I get it done. I work with Boo Williams now. We talked about AAU. And, you know, he'll come up with something. And I said, every time you tell me to do something, I get it done. We had COVID. He wanted me to get my students, and we created COVID protocols, you know, and teams will come here, you go here, you do that. I mean, I'm just known for that, to get it done. Also known for promoting. And I can promote, come up with a slogan with my eyes closed. Literally, I do. It comes to me in my sleep, and I get up and I have a pad of paper, and I'm like, this is how it should be. So that's how the magazine began. I really wanted to get people's names out there to begin to think about what it is that you're known for, your expertise, because you really cannot wait until it's too late, because it's like earworms. It's marketing. I teach sports marketing. And it's like you constantly see a person, and guess what will happen? When you have your name in the pool, I know that person. I'm going to bring them in for an interview, number one. Number two, through the process with me, your confidence will grow. And when you do the interviews, it's going to be spot on, because you know what you bring to the table. And I've had some great results from people being in the magazine. One little lady, her confidence was like this. And she interviewed, I had been with her for a year. So again, she is a client, but I also put her in the magazine. And now she works in sales for the Washington Mystics. And she's like a different person, but she did say the process got her, you know, they loved her so much during the interview. She interviewed for another position, but she got this one because they like how she interviewed. And that just happens very often about, again, when I do my executive coaching, mindset is the first thing I do. We got to discover who is really guiding your ship. You know, are you trying to fulfill a promise to your grandparents that you're going to be have a house, but you really want to travel the world? So you want to work for the Olympics or follow the Olympics and continue to grow things everywhere you go? See, people don't really realize it, that how you're socialized from a standpoint of your parents had a house and stayed in it forever, but that may not be your deal. So you need to understand that, so that you can make decisions based on what are your guiding principles and not what you think everyone is looking for. Okay.
I think my Zoom crashed. We all back?
Yeah. I was like, I could see everybody else's eyes blinking. I said, well, I'm keep on talking.
Absolutely. The show must go on. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I will like to say I wouldn't mind being featured, but we'll talk about that once we close out here.
Just closed out issue 4. I sent it to the designer. So, and next month I'll be taking contributors for the 5th.
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk. Absolutely. So pretty much you have Chat in the Garden, and now we have a magazine. And then we can also find out, and I did also want you to mention about what you said about not everyone having access to your ears, because we were just talking about mindset. Could you drop that gem for the audience you mentioned to us the other day in the pre-screening? How you were telling us how can't allow everyone to have access to our ears.
Oh, that's mindset. Okay, yeah. So you know, right before we came on, the question was, what do I do to eliminate my stress? And so I try to know my triggers, number 1. Okay. Number 2, control my intake. So control my intake is the same as don't have people have access to my ears. So, I mean, I understand the importance of the news. I get that. But I just don't, because I trained in that. So I understand if there's some psychology with it to try to get me to look at it. Same thing with social media. I'm very intentional. When I'm on social media, I'm actually working. Okay, I go to this, I go to here, I go to here, I go to here. You will very rarely see me just stroll. You know, so the same thing about ears, the same thing about eyes. you know, and some things I just won't watch with my husband or my mother, because I'm like, I'm not watching it, because I know that later on it has an effect on me. I mean, honestly, for instance, I was so excited. I went to the Black Student Summit. In my hotel room, I could get Showtime for free, right? So I was watching the First Lady. I was so excited to see the portrait of Michelle Obama, Betty Ford, and Eleanor Roosevelt. Well, the last episode I saw, and I hate to spoil anything, anybody, but the last episode was so depressing. And I was like, I didn't realize why I was depressed. And it's because I watched the show. I didn't even realize it was having that effect on me, even though it was one of those uplift kind of thing. Yeah. And you got to be able to show people, you know, you're down, so you can show them how you're going to come back up. And that's one reason why you didn't ask me about that part, but I did tell you I had a book. Well, I have a chapter in the book.
That was
and the
next.
reason why well, and that's why I did it. And it's called Public Figure Mask, because you got to be able to take, because everybody, oh, you know, it's like I just said, everybody's so excited for you and cheering for you. But what you really need is for people to pray for you.
Absolutely. Well, that's where we're going next. We want to talk. I was going to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about the chapter in the book.
Yes.
So we did that. So pretty much we talked about in the pre-screening, you know, owner, entrepreneur, athleticpreneur, you know, so how does Monique recharge and reset?
Well, you kind of laughed at me, but reading a book.
It was the Spanx book. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, okay, so I belong to a book club. It's an entrepreneur book club, and they have a summer read. So this is supposed to be a fun summer read. And so, yeah, I probably would not have picked this book out, just be honest. Okay. And you know, and I did take a break during the holiday. My husband cooked out. I sat on the back and of our deck, and I did read my book. And I have an addiction to Pepsi. I'm trying to leave it alone. But girl, if I have a Pepsi and a book, like my students, when they got something they really want to ask me, like, do you want a Pepsi? I'm like, what are you trying to get me ready for?
Noted, absolutely. All right, friends, well, I'm coming up on my last question, and
Okay.
Maya's going to lead our Q&A, so please feel free to enter your questions for Monique in the chat, and then Maya will lead us through that. All right, okay. Final question.
Uh-oh.
Touched on it some, a little bit other than the pre-screening. So what would you tell younger Monique? What do you know now that you wish you knew back when Monique was a little Monique?
Well, and I keep mentioning, I'm going to just pop it up. All right, Remove the Face is the name of the book. And you can get this at publicfiguremask.com. Publicfiguremask.com. So this is my message to my younger self, because it just covers my athletic administrative journey. And one of the things I wish I had realized was to spiral up.
Dawn has a book. I don't mean to cut you off, but Dawn is showing her book.
Oh, yay, Dawn! But spiral up the mountain versus going straight up the mountain. Because as you heard, I was athletic director at 28 years old. And then you get there and you kind of go like, okay, what's next? I mean, I had family members that got married, had children, and I was like, did I get invited to that wedding? I mean, I don't even know where you came from, child. You're like, you know, and I was like, dang, you know, so I would just try to enjoy the 4 seasons of life. I'm trying to catch up to that now. But I did that so early and I burned out, and you have to get the book to, you know, find out what happened. I just will say this. I hit a wall literally and figuratively. But after I sought therapy, my career soared.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Monique. This has been great. I'm going to throw it over now to Maya King to lead our Q&A.
All right, Ms. King, what you got for me?
All right, so we are going to start off with a question from the chat from Garnett Overby. He says, you are involved with many projects and impact a lot of people. What is your most memorable moment for the advancement of women in athletics?
Ooh. Okay. Okay, well, I will take one from the CIAA. I would say Ingrid Wicker-McCree being the second woman president of the CIAA it was like a 20-year span between that. And to see her get that and then become an athletic director. It's hard to say one person, but the number of women that became athletic director from the training that we gave, the retreats that we created, the workshops that I made. There's Tiffany Seitz at Dartmouth. There's Christine Kelly at Vanderbilt. Diane Theophort Keed at Mississippi Valley. ATN Thomas at Winston-Salem. It's just a lot of those women who came up through the training. And so from my entrepreneur side, many of the women that I have are now athletic directors. I had one young lady who was a Selma High School volleyball coach and said she wanted to be athletic administrator. And I said, well, you need to start where you are. I said, go and get all your volleyball players, make a folder and get them recruit ready. She did that. And she made a slogan of that on Twitter. And then her, superintendent saw that, called it in and said, what's this about recruit ready? I want you to be my next my next athletic director. And so she's been athletic for like 3 or 4 years. And now she's very active in the NIAAA. Her name is Katasha Turner.
Got it. And then the next question from the chat, kind of along the same realm, from Jocelyn Monroe, says, what leaders inspire you and why?
Wow. Well, I have to say, because I just mentioned her, was Michelle Obama. Because for her to still, the society would say that you're just supposed to be one way. But she knew that she was more than what the position held as First Lady. Mm-hmm. And she made it her own. And she definitely spoke truth to not necessarily power, but the mouths to the power. You know, and again, if you watch First Lady, you see what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It's like her conviction of things that she believed in. She did not bow down to society. That she used to be a quiet little white. And I remember one piece when I read her book before they took office, she would get up in the morning and go and work out. And knowing that she did that Barack would have to feed the girls because she was not there. Mm-hmm. So that's how you just do.
Yeah. I also read her book at the top of the year. So I can also say she's a leader that inspires me. And I think reading the book was important and finding little tidbits of things that we could do for ourselves that still make us feel whole outside of our jobs or our partners.
Yes, that's it. Because people say you complete me or you're my other half. Right. Now you're a whole and then you become the circles connect like this. And it really is, if you're a Christian, you get it. You know, it's a 3-prong. Mm-hmm. You know, and so that's how you have to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. So Candace Martin, our host, double backed for another question.
Okay, all right.
She's asking, what is your greatest achievement and what are you most proud of?
Oh, okay. Well, again, I have to say the women that are in these positions, you know, because when I started, there were none. There was, Jeanette Lee, but she was in the conference level, but just knowing and seeing how they have access and have truth to power, that to me, that's why the magazine is called Significant and not Success, because significant is something that's going to carry on when you're no longer here. So my goal is to leave a legacy, not success for myself, but to show, and I would say pioneer are people that don't have a blueprint. So that's always, I mean, even this entrepreneur piece, I see women now embracing that. So to me, that's my legacy, is always being the first one to go and try and then go, this is how you do it.
Right. And our next question comes from Matt Edelson. He asks, how do you make the young women you work with comfortable with marketing themselves and creating their brand?
Well, you really don't have a problem with the young folks. It's the older ones. I mean, the days of being at your desk and having your head and down and getting it done are over. Unless you told somebody that you didn't, that you know how to do it, you're not going to get a chance to do it again. Okay? So you've got to be able, I'm not saying you need to know how to use Canva. I'm just saying you need to know what is your thing. I see one of my other ladies, Renee Edwards. You need to be able to say, she just sent a message too. I can feel it. You got to be able to say what you do well. What is your intellectual property? What is your expertise that you can either put as a consulting piece, or when people are looking for someone, you're the person they need, either be on their staff or to be the consultant and tell them how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And our last question in the chat comes from Amber Kennedy, who says, from your mention of therapy or wellness, how have you created the space for yourself to be present outside of athletics? And do you have any practices that you would recommend?
Okay. I want to say that I did see one that was from Renee. So I don't know if that was a question or not. Renee Edwards. I would say to recognize and know what your triggers are. That's really important. And to recognize that I'm trying to see it. I'm really so good with it that I can't remember a trigger right this minute. But like one thing is, so I just came from a conference. And I was just telling my husband, I was like, yeah, I grin and smile all day. You know what I mean? I love it. But I got to so when holiday came, if people want me to come to cookouts, I just said, I just want you and I just to sit here. He can cook. Oh my God. So he cooked. Because I can't really cook. And know your triggers, know your thing. Because I get stressed. If I cook and nobody eats it, then my whole self-esteem goes down. So I don't go there. So I think, but really is to say no and not feel guilty about no. So what I try to do is to, like, not now, but when I was working 9 to 5, I went to bed at 10 p.m. so that I could be fresh and make decisions. Everybody knew that. So you control the expectations of others. I will not be available talking on the phone after 10. All right. My father used to pick at me. He said, yeah, she'll stop in a minute. I can go to bed now. And I would go to bed at the same time so I wouldn't be awakened with an alarm. There's I don't watch TV in the bed. There's certain things I do to control my intakes so that I can make sure that I'm fresh. And because I'm telling you, when you need to do this is when you're snappy. You can't find your keys all the time. Everything gets on your nerves. I mean, even the person that's your mate in their breathing gets on your nerves. That tells you something isn't totally right. And you need to, and it's interesting because one of my clients, she said that because of the book, she did that and she has been much better for that. Oh, I see so many comments. Hopefully I can get these comments because I can't read and talk too. So hopefully I can send you these comments. But I'd love to, I see several people that have been in the magazine. And you all can see what they say. Maybe you can read them out and tell everybody how the magazine has assisted them. I know this is y'all's show, but y'all know sometimes you got to be able to influence.
We got you. And so we have some love in the chat also, but I'll read the last, that's not the last question, I'm lying to you, but I'll read the next question out. So she's asking, as a Black woman in leadership in a very masculine space, how do you avoid the angry Black woman image when expressing how you feel or believe in?
Well, I can be honest with you, because I've been in it for 30 years, I didn't have the luxury to do that. I had to be really strategic, which is why I do teach that in the advanced academy that I have. I have 2 lessons. One's called Strategic Chick, and the other one is called Queen's Moves. So one of the things I talk about is studying who can help you with that issue. Many people try to avoid politics, and politics is not a dirty word. It's nothing but a game. You have to learn the game. Now, I was young, I didn't know the game, and I spoke out of turn. I got blackballed. I even got blackballed in high school because I would go speak to the principal and say what we need to be doing. I figured that was a lesson early for me to learn how to be more strategic with what I was trying to get done, because it doesn't have to be me. So as long as I know the players. So when I get frustrated, I just spend time trying to build relationship with face cards that can win the issue. Win the issue is the same as win the hand when you're playing spades. If anybody on here don't know how to play spades, I feel for you, but you need to go learn that, okay? But that's it. And so I got burnt early in life, but then as I became older, I began to know how to do that. And that's one of the main things. Like I told you, I created a whole workshop called Walk in Her Shoes. You have got to be able to think strategically instead of going off the top of your head and how you feel and I get thing about being authentic, but you can be authentically smart. Yeah. Authentically strategic. And that's really key at how you do it. And I've been able to help many people, because again, what happens is sometimes you got to play off so that you have trust so the other person can be able to win that hand. That's kind of, the building of trust is the chance to know the face cards, know and be able to read the hand. And you got to be able to know what somebody's going to say in a meeting because you studied them. Mm-hmm. You can't avoid not being in the meeting. I don't want to be around that. They ignore me, or they disrespected me. Guess what? Disrespect is out of your head. If you can use the 4 agreements to be able to change them, don't take it personal. Whoever said that, they would have said that behind me. Mm-hmm. All right? Don't make assumptions. There's a question you can ask them to figure out where they really are coming from. Always do your best. If you always do your best, why are you trying to gauge yourself what somebody else said about it? And the most important was to be impeccable with your word. What you say to yourself is more important than what somebody says about you.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And the last question from the chat comes from Justina Jackson Brown Lee, who says, Monique, thank you for everything. You've always been a sounding board. What are your thoughts of trying to figure out to make the transition from high school to college athletics?
Well, we've been working on that. Me and Justine have been working on that. She's in the last magazine. No, the magazine coming up. I've been concentrating on the latest one, so which will come out in August. And she's a perfect example of positioning herself for what she is known for. So at her school, it's a high school. No, she's in the central office. But she saw an issue that her students were leaving. Key word, I'm giving you a story, but I'm giving you the key point. Find the issue. Be the answer. So she became the plug to the leakage of people leaving. She began to use social media to promote the student athletes that they had. So they could keep the ones they did have and then attract the ones that say, look, when you come here, this is it. Because a key thing is about exposure. So when you see that, then I got something I can hold on to. I can be able to promote that. I can be able to say, hey. And so she has a mind to be able to close a gap, see a problem, and get and sometimes do it herself. Maybe be strategic and figure out who else can do it. So again, what we have now, strategic communications. So how many departments need strategic communications person? Because the bigger the program, the higher you have the person with the visionary, other person doing the work. And she is at that level to see. The key is who saw the leakage. She did. And she created a whole program to cover that. So I think, find your expertise and then look for those that have that need and then showcase that.
Right. Those are all really good nuggets. Now is my last question from the chat. So I'll send it back over to Candace to close out the show. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Absolutely. So we did get some love that came in the chat. Renee, who I also know from the SWAC, I played volleyball at Alabama State University, so competing institutions. She stated, shout out to Monique Tony for being a champion of uplift and helping women find their voice. You gave Renee an opportunity to volunteer at the CIAA basketball tournament, which was a huge asset in her administrative journey.
She's an IUPU, I know.
I did. I was reading her shirt or her polo. I said, oh, she's an IUPUI now. Very nice.
Look, let me tell you, that girl right there, you were not going to steal a base on her. She played softball at Shaw. Let me tell you, that hat come flying off and whoop, that's it. It was gone. That's buff.
Absolutely. Then Sharice Parker stated that just want to 100% agree with Mrs. Monique, consistent uplift and push of women in this industry. She champions and empowers all to take responsibility and ownership of the information we know and the network we have. She says that she loves you.
Oh, that she came to my retreat. And now she's an athletic director.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to tell y'all. I'm not making this up. As the kids say, I got receipts.
We hear you, Miss Monique. We hear you. All right, friends. Thank you so much, Monique. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I'm going to work to close out the show.
Okay. Now, please tell me how to get these comments now. Don't let me forget that part. Okay.
So I also want to encourage everyone to find Monique's magazine on Amazon. And also we would like to send a special thanks to all the organizations that registered Monique and the Invisible Women team. Tune in June 16th for episode 9 at 2 p.m. where I will sit down with Tiffany Tucker, Deputy Athletic Director and Senior Woman Administrator at University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Be on the lookout for the registration link. Please follow us on all social media platforms to stay up to date and informed on future programs at Institute SSJ. If you ever miss an episode, we have you covered. We upload all of our episodes to YouTube, so all those episodes are posted and up to date. We thank you all for your support of Invisible Women in Sport. We are a nonprofit organization with other programs that impact women, that impact various social justice issues. We would like to extend a special shout out to Seeds of Empowerment, LLC. Please use the QR code displayed on your screen to support us with a financial gift as we continue to change lives through the power of sport. And once again, I would like to shout out my team. So myself, the host, guest Monique, producer Garner L. Overby III, Matt, graduate assistants Maya King and Iane Miranda. And once again, a special shout out to Seeds of Empowerment, LLC, and everyone that registered with us today. Once again, please follow us on all social media platforms to stay up to date and informed on future programs at Institute SSJ. If you ever miss an episode, we've got you covered on our YouTube channel. We have all of our episodes posted and up to date. Viewers, we need your feedback to make Invisible Women in Sport the best it can be. Following today's episode, you will receive a short survey. Please, please, please fill that out as we begin to make our podcast grow and develop. And once again, we also get a lot of inquiries about internship opportunities. If any of our supporters or members have internships available, please send your information to our producer, Garnet Overby at goverby@sportandsocialjustice.org so we can send it out to people reaching out to us. And once again, tune in June 16th for episode 9, where I will have a conversation with Miss Tiffany Tucker, Be sure to register. I'm your host once again of Invisible Women in Sports Zoomcast. See us now.